Hello and welcome to the Adobe part of the beginner course. Today we're going to be covering these options over here, minus the Remediate a Fillable PDF guide. That is going to be in the advanced section of the course. And then over here on the right, we're going to have our practice documents if you would like to follow along. So to start, first things first is I'm going to want to make sure I have certain tools over on my toolbar. These being the accessibility tool, the prepare form tool, the fill and sign, organize pages, scan, and OCR. Edit PDF is also going to be a good tool for later on, if you would ever want to edit your PDFs. That is also a great tool. Next, we're going to want to get some panels over here on the left-hand side. The ones we're going to want to grab is going to be the content panel, which is a paper. We're also going to grab the order panel, which looks like a Z. And then we're also going to grab the accessibility tags panel that looks like a tag. So the first three steps of remediating a PDF is to always check the document properties. If I go ahead and click on File and then go to Properties, first things first, in here we're going to want to add a title. This is going to be different than the file name, so we want to add in a document title. In this case, it's going to probably be this public notice of board meeting. So I would say public notice of board meeting for January 23rd of 2018. Once we have the title set, we want to go ahead and check for our initial view. Make sure our show is set to document title, as when our assistive technology is going to read over this document, it'll read the document title instead of the file name. And then lastly, we're going to want to check for advanced. And as you can see in here, our language is set to Italian, even though this document is obviously in English. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up and look for English inside this drop-down menu. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. And then the last thing we're going to want to do is we're going to use this accessibility tool, the one I asked about earlier. And we're going to open up the reading order. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow you to tag documents, and it'll also show you what tags are already on the document. But what I want to do first is go ahead and run the accessibility check. Because as I know, at least this front page isn't tagged, so we want to see what other issues that we have with this document are. We're going to want to make sure that a category is set to forms, tables, and lists. And then we're going to go ahead and click select all, because our goal here is to get 32 of 32 in all categories, and then click start checking. And then over here on the left side, we have a few issues. We have 2 issues in document, 2 issues in page content, 1 issue in alternative text, and 1 issue in headings. So first things first is I'm going to want to tag this front page and go down the page and see what else needs, go down the document and see what else needs tagging. So in order to tag items, I'm going to want to click and drag a box around the item I would like to tag, and then I will right click on my document and then choose which tag I want the text to have. In this case, I want Brian Sandoval Governor to have text paragraph. For images, you can go ahead and double click on them and it'll highlight those as well. And then I'll right click and choose tag as figure. And then I'm going to want to do this throughout the entire document. So I'm going to tag this as text. I'll go ahead and tag this as text as well. When it comes to this public notice of board meeting and the date, I'm actually going to do something different. I will tag this as a heading 1. Please note that a heading 1 must be assigned to the front page of every document, because headings will act like bookmarks to assistive technology, and a heading 1 is basically signifying to the reader that this is going to be the start of the document. And then continuing on, I'm just going to go ahead and tag the rest of this. In terms of this agenda, I'm going to tag this as a heading 2, only because we had a heading 1 up here, and this then is next in line. Just note that if you are going to be tagging our headings, the lowest you can go is to heading 6, but you can't go past that. But another good tip is that heading numbers can be repeated, but they can't be skipped. So I can't go from 1 to 3, otherwise that'll cause us an issue. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue to tag the rest of this, but I think I'm just going to tag the rest of this page as text paragraph. Oops, I accidentally clicked too much. And then I'll go on to the next page, and it looks like the next page is tagged. So now what I want to do here is I'm going to open up my headings and see that heading 1, I get a heading 1 issue for element 1. The first thing I want to check in here is what heading tag this has or doesn't have. In this case, I will go ahead and right click on element 1 and choose Show in Tags panel. And as you can see, it's a heading 2, and it caused an issue earlier because we didn't have a heading 1 before it. And we can't just skip headings, so we had to have had a heading 1 before it. So when we ran accessibility check, it caused an issue. But because I see that this is a heading 2 now, and we had another heading 2 above it, and a heading 1, I can go ahead and run my check again for this issue, and it will resolve it. Next on the list is going to be the alternative text, and it's going to be for that Great Seal of Nevada I just tagged. So what I'm going to want to do is right-click on this and choose Fix, and this will open up a Fix dialog box where you can enter in your alternative text or tag it as a decorative figure. I only recommend tagging it as a decorative figure only if the image is not important to the context of the document. If it is, then it should get a short description on what it's describing in said image. In this case, I'm just going to describe it as the Great Seal of Nevada. And then click Save and Close. Another way you can do this is by right-clicking on the image or the figure that you want to tag, and then choosing Edit Alternative Text. This will accomplish the same thing, but say if we had more alternative text throughout the document, if we chose the Fix option, we could scroll throughout them without having to go and find them in our documents. Lastly, we have our page content 1 issue. And as you can see, we had 2 issues earlier, and it was because we actually had a tagged content issue. And that tagged content issue was fixed by tagging the rest of this page, thus leaving only the tagged annotations. The tagged annotations are going to be any links that we have inside of this document that don't have the appropriate tags applied to them. For example, we have this OM Board Executive Director email. That's going to receive another tag that is going to apply to it. So in order to do that, we're just going to open this up, right-click on element 1, and go to Show in Content panel. While we're in the Content panel, we're going to find the link that it's highlighted. In this case, it's just going to be this one under Annotations. Right-click on it and click Find. In the Find drop-down box, we're going to want to change it from Artifacts to Unmarked Annotations. And then we're also going to change the type buttons from Search Page to Search Document, and then we're going to click Find. It's going to find this link in which we're going to click on Tag Element. In here, we're going to change our type from article to link, and then click OK. It'll tag it, and then it says that it has no more unmarked annotations for it to find, so it'll complete the search. So I'll go ahead and close this, go back to my accessibility check, which is this circle with a guy inside of it, and then I'm going to right-click on element 1 and choose check again. Now all that's left is these document 2 issues. As a preface to these are always going to show up whether you have passed these issues or not, because what it's saying is that Adobe will not check for these issues automatically, so it's going to need the human touch to check for these things and to make sure that these are A-okay. So going down the list, logical reading order is going to be the order in which the document is read in, and how we decide how the document is read is by these numbers that is applied to our tags. So number 1 will be read first, and then number 2, and then number 3, and so on and so forth. We want to make sure that our numbers are listed top to bottom, left to right in chronological order until we get to the last one. In this case, it's going to be 8 for this page. And then I'll just go ahead and pass this just for argument's sake. But if I were to close this and open it back up, it would repopulate. Next is going to be this color contrast issue. This is going to be any text that may have a too light of a contrast with its background. In what we covered earlier in Word, we had yellow text on a white background, and that was causing a color contrast issue. Even in PDF, even though it doesn't check for it automatically, it will cause an issue. If you're unsure, go ahead and go and use WebAIM to check your colored text. But once you've found out if it passes or not and made the right adjustments, we can go ahead and check this off our list. And then that's covering how to do a majority of remediation. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the action wizard. So the action wizard is actually another tool that we're going to be adding. And I can go ahead and find this in my more tools section. And it's going to be at the bottom towards customize. And go ahead and click add. And then I'll close out of here by clicking on the action wizard. But first things first, before I do this, I want to make sure that this document has a title and a description. So we can go ahead and add in a title, how a bill becomes a law. And then we can change the initial view from file name to document title. And then lastly, change the advanced from language to English. And then we can click OK. Now that we have those 3 steps done, all we want to do is click on Make Accessible in the Action Wizard. And then this is going to be the list of which it will go through to make this document at least a little bit more accessible. So first things first, it's going to add a document description, which we have already done. And then it's also going to set open options, etc. Next, it's going to do recognizing text using OCR tool. It's going to try and detect form fields if there is any. And then it's going to set tab order property. Next, it's going to do setting the reading language, which you also, again, have already done. Then it's going to auto tag the document. And then it's going to set alternative text for our images. And then lastly, it's going to run an accessibility check. So to start this, you can just go ahead and click on the start button at the top. And we're going to say allow. Here, like I said earlier, you could click on leave as is if it already has a title. If it doesn't, we can uncheck it and then add in our information. And then we can click OK. In this, we want our document language to always be set to English. We want the output to be editable text and images. And then we want our downsample to be at 600 dpi, which it should be at by default. And we can click OK. It's going to run all that, and then it's going to bring up this detect form fields. Because I know this document doesn't have any form fields, we're just going to skip that step. We're going to set the reading language if we hadn't already, but we did earlier in our document properties, so it's set to English, which is what it should be, and then we can click OK. And then lastly, we're going to be adding in our alternative text. So first things we're going to want to do is we're going to add in the alternative text for these images, and we can just say amended on second reading. As amended in committee. Introduced. And then this one is going to be implemented by the state agency. This one looks like it's going to be as enacted. And then this one is as funded by money committees. By the money committee, sorry. And then I can't see what this is down here, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip that for now, as well as the next one. And I'll click Save and Close. It's going to ask me to run my accessibility check, which again, we want to make sure it's 32 of 32, so go ahead and click on Forms, Tables, and Lists. Click on Select All, and then start checking. We can go ahead and close that, and we can also close our reading order. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fix those alternative text that we did earlier. So this one is going to be what was actually needed. And then this one is going to be as reported by the media. And then we can click Save and Close. Now I want to open back up my reading order, because as you can see, our reading order is still a little bit wonky. And we also don't have a heading 1 on this first page. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to grab this image. And then I'm going to right click. And we'll just choose tag as heading 1. Next, I'm going to use my order panel to change the order of which my words and pictures are structured. So as you can see, we have 1, 4, 5, 3, 2, 6. This obviously isn't going to be what the order of the document is, because 4 should be 1 and 5 should be 2. So what I'm going to want to do here is I will click and drag 4 underneath 1, and then I'll click and drag 5 and go underneath 2. And then this 5 will go ahead and put under 3. But as you can see, the text also needs tagging still, so what I'm going to do is I will grab that text, and then I'll tag it as text paragraph. And then we have that 2 become an issue, so we'll just move this under 5. Same thing with 7. It doesn't grab all of it, so we got to go ahead and re-tag that as text paragraph. But it keeps it in order, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So then moving on, we can go ahead and do the middle row. So 9 and 8, or 9 and 14 should be 8 and 9. So we can go ahead and I'm going to hold Control and select both of them. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this under 7. Same thing with 12, 13, and 15. Going to hold in Control so I can select multiple at a time. And then I'll put this under 9. And then 13, 14, and 15 are tagged correctly. And then we have the last row, 17 and 20 should be underneath 15. 20 should be under 17. And then 19 and 20 are automatically put in the right way. So now that we have this done, we can do a quick check just to make sure that all of this is good. The reading order is good, and there is no color contrast to check for because our text is black on white. Next is going to be tagging tables and then fixing them properly. So first things we're going to want to do is go into our accessibility panel and then open up reading order just to make sure we have it enabled. And then what I'm going to want to do is, because we don't have a heading 1 on the first page, go ahead and add in a heading 1. And then we can go ahead and add this as text paragraph. And then because this is a table, we're just going to grab the whole thing, right click, and choose tag as table. Now, I'm going to go ahead and run my accessibility check just to show a few issues that may happen. So with tables, they're kind of like images in the fact that we also have to give them a summary. Summaries are just going to be alternative text, but for tables. Normally I use the table's title. In this case, it's going to be Nevada State Board of Podiatry Licensees as of June 4th, 2019. Another thing we want to check in here is our table editor. We just want to make sure that we have a table header row established. If we didn't, we would have a headers failed issue, and to fix that, we would just give a heading row for our table. To fix this summary issue, we can go ahead and right-click inside the table and choose Edit Table Summary. And like I said earlier, I will just give it Nevada State Board of Podiatry Licensees as of June 4th, 2019. And then we can click OK. And then I can right-click on my summary and choose Check Again, and it'll pass this issue. With tables, it is good to note that the logical reading order should most of the time be tagged correctly, assuming that the document isn't bugged, and assuming that the table is as simple as it can be. And by simple, I mean we have our headers that cover the entire scope of a column or row, depending on how which way our headings are laid out. In this case, we have an equal amount of information in each column, and each column has its own heading. So now that is finished, we can go ahead and move on to our optional portion, which is scan documents, strikeout and modified material, and then redacted material. So first things first, we have this scan document. Scan documents are any documents that are like scanned into eDocs. And as you can see, if I were to try and select this as anything, it's going to select the whole page, because this whole page is being recognized as an image instead of text. So what I'm going to want to do instead is use this scan and OCR tool over here on the right hand side. I'm going to want to click on recognize text, and then I want to say in this file. Before I do this, I want to make sure that our settings is set correctly. So to do that, I'll click on settings. I want to scan all the images or all pages. Make sure that our document language is set to English. I want our output to be editable text and images, and I want our sample size to be 600 dpi. And we can click OK. Now that we have our settings set, we can go ahead and click Recognize Text. And this will tag, or this will recognize the entire document, and thus turning it into text that we can fix. Now that we have this done, we can either do one of two options. We can go and manually tag this page or this document, or we can run the auto tag document feature. I prefer to run the auto tag document feature because it saves me time and I only have to fix the issues that it'll make. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And as you can see, it automatically tagged all this information, and so now all I have to do is fix it. In this case, I can already tell inside my accessibility panel that our headings are going to be messed up. So what I will do from here is I will tag this information as a heading 1. And then every subsequent heading that is a heading 4 or 2 or 3 and above, I will change to an appropriate heading. So in this case, I can make this purpose a heading 2 because the next one in line should be a heading 2. And then I can make this H4 a heading 3 because the next one in line should be a heading 3. And then that means all subsequent heading 4s that I have inside this document are all going to pass. So now I'll go ahead and click Start Checking. This leaves me one issue for alternative text, a few issues or one issue for character encoding, and then the 2 issues that are primary language and title. So starting from the top, I will go ahead and edit my primary language and title by going to the document properties. I'll go ahead and give this a title. We're going to say policy statement. I would go more in depth. I'd also add individual liability account. But for argument's sake, we're just going to keep going with this. Change initial views show to document title, and then go to advanced and make sure the language is set to its correct one, which in this case it'll be English. And then we can click OK, right click on the issue, and then check again. It'll pass those. Now, when it comes to logical reading order and color contrast, I'd rather fix the rest of my issues inside my documents and leave those for last. So what I'll do now is I'll close that up and go into page content order, or page content issues, and then I'll see the character encoding issue, and I'll click on that and see what the issue might be. In this case, it's going to be our issue date down here. So what I will do to fix this is I will close out of my accessibility tool so that I can get a clean snippet of this information, because I will be adding it back in and giving it alternative text. In order to do that, I can hold my Windows, Shift, and press S to open up my snippet tool. Try that again. There we go. And then I'm just going to drag a box over this and select it. And that will save it to my clipboard. So now what I want to do is I'll go into my Edit PDF tool, and I'm just going to delete this information out of our document. And then I will add it back in by either pressing copy or Control V on my keyboard. In this case, I'll press Control V. And then I'm going to resize this image so that it fits with the rest of the document. And we'll put it back in place. Go ahead and click close. Go back to your reading order tool, double click on the image, and then choose tag as figure. Now I can go ahead and right click on my Word issue, click check again, it'll pass that. Next we have alternative text. This one is just giving alternative text to these 2 images down here. This one's a signature, so I can go ahead and say Patrick Kate's signature. I'll actually add director to this as well. And then lastly, we'll give this the issue date. So we'll say 6/16/16 issue date. Go ahead and press OK, and then check those issues, see that it passes, and we're good with that. And then lastly, again, logical reading order. We just want to make sure that this document reads in the correct order, which it looks like it does. Nothing wrong here. And then lastly is color contrast. Again, the only thing that might cause an issue is the blue, but I know for a fact that that's going to pass anyway. So we can go ahead and say this document is finished. All right, moving on, we're going to be doing the striked out or modified text. These are going to be documents that have information that is going to be added to our documents or changed, or it's going to have information that is going to be omitted or removed. Most of the time, our key is going to be on the first page where it'll tell you what text color is going to be, or what text color and style is going to be added text and what is going to be removed text. In this case, our bolded italics in blue is going to be our added text, whereas our omitted material is going to be red with a dash through it and behind brackets. So first things first, again, we're going to open up reading order, and we're going to go find information that is blue. Here's a perfect example. So when we have our text here, we're going to want to grab information before the blue text or the added material. As you can see, I grabbed this little space. That's perfect. We're going to right click and choose tag as figure. And then we're going to right click and edit alternative text. In here, we're going to want to say beginning of new material to signify that this is the beginning of the new material. And then we're going to grab a empty space this at the end, like we did at the beginning, tag that as a figure as well, and then we'll say end of new material. And then we'll click OK. So that's covering new material. So let's go ahead and find some omitted material. Here we go. So this or is going to be omitted. So what I want to do is I'm going to see if I can grab a space before it. Here we go. Tag as figure. And we're going to say beginning of omitted material. And then we're going to see if we can do something at the end. There we go. Tag that as figure. And then say end of omitted material. And then click OK. And then that's all we have to do for this with added material or omitted material, is we just want to make sure that that this is signified only because if we had a screen reader read through this, it wouldn't tell you all this information about what is omitted and what isn't, or what is added and what isn't. It's not going to tell the difference between this red text with a line through it, or this black text with nothing that's normal, or even this blue text that has a bold and italics to it. Moving on, we just have redacted material. We can go ahead and close out of our reading order. In here, it's pretty simple. We have this black box, and you would think that this text is actually hidden. But in reality, if I were to just use this edit PDF tool, I can go ahead and move this box by clicking on it and then just moving it, and I'll get our PO box information. All this omitted stuff that we wanted gone can now be revealed. There's also another way of seeing this. So if you went and used the accessibility tags panel, this information, oh wait, not the other one, the content panel, sorry. In the content panel, this information is still here. It's just going to be located under artifact, and it's going to be this text PO box, all this information that's supposed to be hidden behind this black box, when in reality it's not. So what I want to do here is I'm going to use our redaction tool. We can go ahead and add this by using the more tools on the right hand side as well. And it should be located under protect and standardize. We're going to go ahead and click add, and then we're going to use it. So actually, first things first, I want to grab this box and delete it. That way we can have the information right here. And then we'll go ahead and use the redact tool. And what I want to do is I'm going to highlight this information. I'm going to click apply. It's going to ask me if I want to sanitize and remove hidden information. I want to, so we can click continue. It's going to ask me to save this form. In this case, I'll click save. So now, if I were to go ahead and try and move this information via the edit tool, I can't. As you can see, it's stuck. I can't move it. And if I went to go look at it in my content panel, I also can't see this information. It's now replaced by this form X object. And then that's it for redacted, and that is also going to be it for the class. If you have any questions, you can always go ahead and reach out to the ADA remediation group, and we can schedule one-on-ones with you. All right, thank you.